Hello everybody, welcome to Chemistry tutorial. This is our first lecture on organic chemistry and this is the first video of our crash course GATE 2021. Over here I am going to start the reaction mechanism and I am going to discuss the important topics or important points regarding to the nucleophilic substitution reaction and the conditions upon which the substitution and elimination reaction depends upon, and when the substitution will occur and when the elimination will occur. So substitution versus elimination reaction condition will be discussed over here. So without a further ado, I am going to start today's lecture. So this is, you can see that substitution nucleophilic reaction. So SN type of reactions are of two type. One is your SN1 and another is your SN2. For SN1 reaction, this 1 stands for the unimolecular reaction condition. Basically it's a multi-step, or you can think that more than one step is involved, and the first step is the carbocation intermediate formation. Since the first step is something like that, suppose this is a alkyl halide, this X stands for halogen, and the first step is the breaking of this carbon and halogen bond, or the leaving group. We can think that it's a leaving group. So the first step is the breaking of this carbon and the leaving group bond, and it will form a carbocation. Okay, so carbocation intermediate formation is the first step, and it is basically the rate determining step. So in the rate determining step, no nucleophile is present, so that is why it is a unimolecular reaction. Since carbocation is formed, so now the nucleophile can attack from this side as well as from this side. So both side attack is possible, so that is why we are getting racemization, where 50% product are coming from the inversion and 50% product coming from the retention. Because nucleophile has two sides open for the attack, so both type of attack will occur and the both type of product will be formed in a equal proportion. So that is why racemization takes place. Now the next important point is that it does not depend on the nucleophilic concentration or the nucleophilicity, because in the rate determining step, which is the first step, there is no nucleophile involved. So that is why even weak nucleophile like ordinary protic solvents can perform the SN1 reaction, and when solvent gives the SN1 reaction, they are called the solvolysis. Now coming to the next point, polar carbocation intermediate is stabilized in the polar protic solvent like water or methanol. You know that polar solvent can stabilize polar intermediate, polar like polar. Okay, so that is why, since the intermediate is polar, so polar intermediate like this kind of polar solvent like water or methanol. Now some additives like inorganic ionic salts, Lewis acid like AlCl3, or some transition metal ions like silver plus cation. So this kind of ions can accelerate the rate of the reaction. So this will increase the rate of the SN1 reaction. So this can be called as a catalyst of SN1 reaction. Now, so these are the very important points of SN1 reaction. And now, since it is a reaction which is dependent on the carbocation formation, so 3 degree alkyl halide is the best candidate. After that, 2 degree alkyl halide and 1 degree alkyl halide does not give SN1 reaction. So if you consider the halogen, so Rx, that means alkyl halide. So 3 degree alkyl halide is the best candidate for SN1 reaction. Now coming back to the SN2 reaction, here 2 stands for the bimolecular, and remember it is a single step reaction. It is a single step reaction. In the single step, you can think that over here this Rx, X is a leaving group which could be the halogen, and the nucleophile comes in the from the back side, and there will be a transition state like this, and the nucleophile is attacked from the back side, and so we are getting the inverted product we are getting. So here 100% inversion is taking place, the nucleophile attack from the back side, and since it is a single step reaction, that is why it is called the bimolecular reaction. Okay, Well, now coming back to the third point, or rather fourth point, it depends upon the nucleophilic concentration and the nucleophilicity. Strong nucleophile favors the reaction, because over here the rate determining step, or you can think that it's a single step, so the rate of the reaction is dependent both the concentration of the substrate as well as the concentration of the nucleophile. So if the nucleophile concentration increases, or you can think that if the nucleophilicity increases, that will accelerate the step, the rate of the SN2 reaction. Okay, so this is one condition. Now polar aprotic solvent like DMS or DMF is used for SN2 reactions. Well, the next point says that the cationic counterpart of the nucleophile can be captured by crown ether like moiety. Now, if I use KCN as our nucleophile, over here the nucleophile is Cn minus. But there is another cationic part, which is the K plus, which is basically the cationic counterpart of this reagent. Now what you can think that this K plus can be captured by crown ether. You know that what is the basic structure of crown ether? It is basically a cyclic polyether like this, and there will be joining between them, so it will be like something like this. So I am just giving you elementary drawing. So inside this cavity it can bind with potassium plus or sodium plus. This kind of alkali metal can be captured by this kind of crown ethers. So if we use crown ether along with KCN, that will basically capture the cationic counterpart of the reagent, and that will in turn increase the effectiveness of the nucleophile, or basically it will increase the nucleophilic ability of the nucleophile. So that will act as a catalyst. So over here crown ether could be considered as a catalyst of the SN2 reaction. Okay, so next point is that there is one different kind of mechanism we can see, which is called the SNI mechanism. For SNI mechanism, we will discuss with this substrate. Over here, which is there, and here the reagent is SOCl2. Now, if I draw the structure of SOCl2, this will be the structure of SOCl2. Clear? Now, what is the special feature of this reaction? In this reaction, I am getting the substituted product, which is showing 100% retention. So it is not the SN1 where 50% retention and 50% inversion take place. For SN1 racemization occurs, and for SN2 100% inversion occurs. But in this kind of substitution reaction, which is basically the substitution nucleophilic reaction, here 100% retention is taking place. Now how to explain it? In order to explain this kind of reaction, look at the lone pair over the oxygen. This lone pair of the oxygen will attack this electrophilic sulfur center. It will form O minus, it will come back and remove this Cl minus. As a result of that, we will get something like this. Positive, neutron, Cl and Cl minus. Okay. Now in the next step, this H plus will be removed, so we are getting something like this. Over here there will be hydrogen and R dot. Okay. Now in the next step, what happens? We can see that this bond, this carbon oxygen bond, can be cleaved, so in this manner, and that will form and this sulfur chlorine bond will be cleaved. So as a result of that, what we are actually getting, this part will remain here forming a cation. Now this is nothing but SO2 moiety and Cl minus. Now these three species will remain in a very close proximity, and this kind of assembly is often referred to as the intimate ion pair. Okay, these are nothing but your intimate ion pair. So if you consider this kind of intimate ion pair, you will see that this SO2 being a gas, can be removed from the system and Cl- can attack over this side. So this is the site where the initial OH was attached. So here the Cl- will attack from the same side. That is why what we are getting this kind of product where the Cl or the incoming nucleophile will be attached in that side where the initial living group, it was not a living group actually, but it is turned into a potential good living group. So initial living group was present in that side where the nucleophile has attacked, so it actually results in the 100% retention. Clear? So this is the basic mechanism of SNI reaction. Now we will see another kind of parallel reaction which is called the elimination reaction. What are the factors on which this elimination reaction depends upon? First factor is the, not concentration, sorry, there will be one correction over here. It is not concentration, it is basically the strength of the base, basic strength. How to explain this one? We will explain it with a substrate molecule. Suppose I am giving you this tertiary alkyl halide. This tertiary alkyl halide is treated with first ethanol and it is treated with the sodium ethoxide. Obviously, the ethanol has lesser basic strength. It is lesser basic and it is comparatively more basic. And it is also a solvent. Okay. Now what I can see that in presence of this ethanol, here solvolysis can take place. Now here carbocation is formed by the cleavage of this carbon-chlorine bond, and here substitution reaction occurs which gives a product like this. So this will be your proton product. Clear? Now what happens if sodium ethoxide, which is the more basic reagent, is used? Now, in presence of more basic reagent, what actually we find? We find a product like this. There will be a double bond. Now you can think that how this double bond can come. If you consider this structure, over here chlorine is there and here hydrogen is there. If we remove this one, so there will be a elimination which can yield this kind of double bond over here. Okay, so this is a elimination reaction. From this observation, what I can say that if the strength of the base increases, if the strength, basic strength increases, so what we can see, the probability of elimination reaction increases. So elimination reaction probability increases. This is the first point. The second point is the bulkiness of the base. Here also we will discuss with a substrate, common substrate like this. Okay, this is a common substrate where this beer can act as a living group. Now bulky base could be your potassium tertiary butoxide. The structure of the potassium tertiary butoxide is something like this, K plus O minus. Over here it is a bulky group. It is lithium diisopropylamide, so it has a structure like this. 2 isopropyl group is attached over here and lithium, so it will be something like this. Now it is lithium bis trimethylsilylamide. If you consider the structure, it will be something like this. Nitrogen is there. This trimethyl, 2 trimethylsilyl group will be present. It will be negative and it will be lithium plus. KHDMS instead of lithium plus, if K plus is there, so that will be KHDMS. Now this DBU is also a bulky non-nucleophilic base where a 7-membered ring, okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 membered ring is fused to a 5-membered ring. Over here a nitrogen is there. So this is the structure where this lone pair can come over here and this nitrogen becomes N negative. So these are some bulky bases. So what happens if we treat it with some bulky base like DBU or DBN or LHDMS? We can think something like this. So what we can see over here, I am getting a elimination product. Elimination product from this one. Suppose there is a hydrogen So now the removal of this HBr occurs effectively, so it will give this kind of product. I'll discuss the detailed mechanism of elimination reaction in my next video. So over here, when this kind of bulky base is used, elimination is favored. But the scenario is completely different if I use aqueous KOH. It is not a bulky group, not bulky, and that is why this OH minus can act as a potent nucleophile. So when nucleophilic base is used, then there is a possibility of the formation of this kind of substitution product. So substituted product is obtained. Clear? So bulkiness of the base basically make it non-nucleophilic. These are some very elementary points which you need to understand, because these days net and get questions pattern is getting changed, and nowadays they are focusing on the basic knowledge. Okay, so you have to be careful about that. So they are asking not difficult question, but a very basic concept is being checked over here. That is why we have to consider each and every important points, and in these videos I am going to discuss all of those important points which are relevant for your GATE or NET examination. Clear? Okay, now moving on to our next point, which is basically the temperature factor. We can see that if temperature is higher, then it basically promotes, higher temperature promotes the elimination reaction. So this is a common observation. Okay, this is very important factor. We'll discuss some basic mechanism of elimination reaction in the next video, but in most of the cases if you see that some base is used, okay, some base is used, and with it some heating condition or reflux is written, so that actually implies the temperature of the medium is higher. So higher temperature actually promotes the elimination reaction. So you will think that it will be E1 or E2 or E1 this kind of reaction mechanism you will think. Now we will discuss all of this type of reaction mechanism along with several examples in the next video. So that's all for today. Thank you.